It says we are now live. Okay, welcome everyone to Weekend Wind Down with Business Coach Nancy. I am so excited to be here today with Nikole Stanfield. And you know what? I should have put in your name, and I think I can change it even while we're live, that you are an intuition coach.
I am, yes, and I have my Mal back here.
Okay, good. So let's say cheers to the weekend. Right?
Cheers.
Cheers. My first sip coming. So I don't do weekend wind down that often, but for those of you who are watching, most of you know me already. I'm Nancy Ganzekaufer. I'm a business coach and a body language trainer to interior design professionals. And although I coach other service providers as well here and there when they come to me. And I like to do this show because I meet so many interesting people. I get to introduce you guys to so many interesting people. And it's all about teaching you something that you may not know already, or you need reinforcement to remind yourself that you should be paying attention to these things. So I met Nikole, and she did an extra training in my membership site for me, which I really appreciate. And I wanted her to come on and introduce herself and her story and talk to you guys about burnout, which I know I've definitely been on the verge of at times because I'm a self-proclaimed workaholic. So I don't know if that happened to you, but Nikole, tell everyone a little bit about you.
Hey, Heather.
Hi.
So I am, I'm super excited to be here and have a conversation about what it looks like, why I started my business. But first, one question I get from a lot of people is, what is an intuition coach? So I totally made up that, right? That's a term that I made up myself.
Oh, is it?
It is.
I
And the
love
reason
that.
why is because I feel like a lot of times we don't listen to ourselves. And when I think of listening to myself, it's not my heart, it's not my head, it's my intuition. And that's when I followed my intuition, I've been the happiest, I've been the most satisfied, and it's been scary at times, absolutely. But it's been like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but it feels right. That's when I'm following my intuition. So I want to encourage other people to follow their intuition through coaching. And I think that one of the reasons that I burned out was because I stopped listening to myself.
You know, there's a book, I don't know if you've ever read it. God, I read it years ago, so I don't remember the author, but it was called The Gift of Fear. And it was about, have you ever read it?
I haven't, no.
It was about how when we come into this world, we're kind of attached to this sense of I'm in danger, or an intuition is what I call it. And yet, as we get older, we learn to ignore it, right? Because we're going to school and people go, just get to school. It doesn't matter how you feel. Unless you're running a fever or throwing up, you need to go. And when the elevator opens and there's a person standing there that you might end up not feeling very comfortable with, your parents are like, come on, let's get in the elevator. And we learn to start ignoring it. I wish I remembered the name of the author, but at the time it was so interesting because I had young kids and I thought I have to teach them to follow their gut, which to me is intuition. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. For me, yeah, absolutely. But I feel like a lot of people feel like intuition is a time when it's like that fight or flight. When I was traveling in a different country, I really listened to my intuition and I didn't have any problems. But there were times when I was like, you know what, I shouldn't be here. And I just left. And so that's like a fear-based intuition. But there's also a time of, okay, so this is a scary thing and it's new and different, but I'm also excited about it. And it doesn't make sense in my head to do it. Like, why would I go and do that thing? It's wasting money or something like that we think, right? There's all these objections.
Yes.
And so then you're thinking about it and you're like, but it makes me really excited. I see myself doing this. That's intuition, and that's following it positively. There's nothing wrong with the negative or the positive, like when you're doing it because of fear and listening to that. But I feel like there's a time when we get to listen to it when we think about our goals and where we want to be and making big decisions in our lives.
Yes, because we want to talk about intuition related to your business.
Yes.
And how to follow that. And then also how not to follow it so much where you end up in a burnout situation.
So what I believe is that I stopped listening to myself, my needs, my body needs, my physical needs, mental, emotional needs, and that's what led me to burnout. There were some concepts that I had that I thought that if I didn't answer a client email, then maybe I would lose that client. So I would answer emails whenever someone sent them, and I would answer them at 8 p.m. and I was always connected to my phone and always paying attention to that. And then I also had some other beliefs that I had to work really, really hard, and that's what would make my business successful, was that if I put in all my effort and all my time, and when there was something extra, working on the weekends. And in the end, all that extra time, I did make a lot of money, and that was awesome. And at the same time, I was pretty unhappy. I wasn't physically present. I was eating my lunch at my desk. I wasn't. I was taking bathroom breaks when it was like really necessary. Like, don't think that I was chaining myself to the desk, but I wasn't really paying attention to what my body needed. Sitting, standing, taking a walk outside, getting exercise, some of that stuff. I just wasn't paying attention to it because I got so wrapped up in this project is so important. I have to get it done for this client.
Okay, so where were you in your life at the time you really hit burnout, and what did it look like? Tell us your story.
So I didn't realize I was in burnout for a while. Luckily, my husband is a teacher, and he was taking a class on burnout. And he started to tell me some things about it, like, hey, people who are in burnout, they don't have much energy for anything else. They're sort of just coasting along, hoping nobody like pays attention to them, and they're just doing the bare minimum. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, I don't want to admit that, but that's me.
Right.
And so then we noticed some other things that I was showing, like, so there were things I would get an email from a client and I'd be really frustrated and angry. And I'd need to just like go walk away from my computer and just be angry for 15 minutes and rage quit. And I mean, from an email.
Wow.
So I was really surprised at all the anger I had. I had cynicism as a marketer. So my business that I burned out from was digital marketing. And I was like, well, they won't like it anyways, or it won't work, or none of these campaigns will ever work because it's just a shot in the dark anyways. And I didn't realize that there was some lack of confidence too.
Mhm.
When we would finish a big project, instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that we're done, I'm so excited, it would be like, well, they won't like it anyways, or let's move on to the next thing. And so over a period of about 6 months, it got to the point where as a marketer, I didn't have any creative ideas. I didn't have anything left to give. I was so low that every weekend it felt like I was recovering from being sick because my energy was so low. I was just at that point, I would just sit on the couch and doing things like going and getting groceries for that week, or taking a shower. Those were big accomplishments, or doing the laundry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'll fix myself. I'll take a week off and that will fix me and it'll be great. And so I did. I took a week off and I didn't have any work and I didn't have any commitments. I got rid of all of it. And I only had to feed myself and the dogs and sleep. And by the end of the week, I was more tired than I was at the beginning of the week. I could barely go to the store to get groceries, and the store is like 5 minutes away.
Oh boy.
So I realized that there was something else going on. And I couldn't just take a week off to cure myself from burnout. So, and that was a really scary place to be, because I'm very, I'm a go-getter. I do a lot of things. I normally have a lot of different commitments. I'm more overcommitted than undercommitted normally. And I think that that's how a lot of business owners are. And we believe we get on like this treadmill of, okay, I started my own business, and so now I need to work really hard to get my first client. And then you start to make some money, and you have these long-term goals of like, I'll travel the world and be able to work wherever I want, or whatever it is for you. And you keep getting on this treadmill of like, okay, I need to make more money so then I can have the time off. But then because you're making more money, you don't have the time off. And then you feel guilty, and then you keep working so you can eventually have that time off. And it just seems to slip farther and farther and farther away.
You know, you are speaking to so many people. I want to know if anyone who's listening can actually relate to this from any time in their life where you just felt like you had to do it all. I mean, I know that a lot of my clients feel this way. When they get on with me, they're like, I need to do my social media. I need to be everywhere. I need to redo my website. I need processes. Everyone is talking about processes on every Facebook Live and every podcast they're listening to. And I need to get more clients. And of course, I need to satisfy my clients. So they come to me in this complete overwhelm. And I'm like, okay, we need to take a deep breath and we need to pick our priorities, right? Because you can't do everything overnight. It takes time, and that's okay.
And in the end, like, you have to make money, right? You have to live, you have to make money, but it's like, how do you do your client work and get more clients so it's not like this crazy feast or famine cycle that we get into as entrepreneurs, and all of a sudden, like, our business is doing great, and then it's like, and you don't know when that next uphill is going to be.
Right.
And so it's hard to say, I need to also schedule time for my self-care. I need to schedule time off. I need to step away from the computer, the cell phone, the tablet, the whatever that thing is.
What? Step away from the cell phone?
I know, right?
It's an addiction.
It is. It is. I read a really interesting book that was like how to break up with your cell phone.
Oh my God, that book.
Right. And it had like 15 things in it. And it was like, and I consider myself like, I'm not super addicted to my phone. And yet I was hitting a lot of these things. Like, every time it moves or dings or makes a noise, do you reach for it? And it was like, do you have to have it on at all times? Do you have to respond to like a notification?
Guilty.
Right.
Totally.
And
I'm totally guilty of that. I can't even lie about it. Like, I set a timer now. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Kaden. I set a timer now once in a while and say I'm not going to look at it for an hour. And we're talking at night, okay? Not during the day when I'm working, because my clients have Voxer access to me, which is a walkie-talkie app. So I'm fine. Again, I'm a workaholic. I'm okay with that. But at night, I go, I'm going to set this timer and not look at it. And I turn off the vibration on this. I can't make it an hour.
Is it hard? Yeah.
It is totally hard. I cannot make it an hour, which is so bad. And I'm like, okay, I need to pull it back and work up again to be able to make an hour.
It's crazy because like I said, I'm not super attached to it, but it's just, I'm guilty of the same thing too. I was on this scale and I was ranking myself and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on the low end of the addiction, but I also have an addiction to my phone. It's like, will you take free time? Will you go to your phone? Like, if you're waiting in the doctor's office or something, will you just sit with your phone? Do you pull it out when you are at a dinner? Is it on the table? Like, all those things that we just do as we have a habit. And some of that stuff we do in our businesses as well, right?
Yes.
So.
Yes. I mean, listen, when you look around a doctor's office, or quite frankly, anywhere, and you look around, you go, can I look anyone in the eye right now? I'm at the airport and I'm like, I can't even get a conversation with someone because everyone is looking down at their cell phones. Unless you're getting on the plane, and then people don't have it in their hands all the time, and you can like make eye contact and smile and say hi to somebody. But it really is an issue. And you think that's contributing to burnout?
I think it's definitely one of the factors, because I need a break. So how do you get that break, right? So work-life balance is the way that you take that psychological step away from what you're doing, especially when your business is at your house. So my business is in my house, and I have a back room, and that's where I do my work. But it's also a place where I have a couch and I can relax, right? So it's like, I need to make sure that there is a break in between the end of my day and the time when I'm taking downtime. Because if your phone is what you're doing all your business on, then how are you going to step away from that, right? How do you get a break from it? So one of the ways that you can take like a psychological break, and this is scientific proven, is by taking a walk, doing something different. You can have an end of day routine, like changing your clothes, cleaning up your desk, things like that will help you shift and be like, this is the end of my day. And also communicating that to your clients. So having some healthy boundaries about, this is when I will be available for calls, and this is when I'm not available, or I will respond within a day, it does take me a day. And I was really worried about putting up those boundaries at first. And then I did, and it changed a lot. It was very nice.
It makes a big difference. When I was an art consultant, I was working definitely 6 days a week, always. And on the 7th day, I would be doing background work, which meant I was working 7 days a week. But I would see clients 6 days a week. And I've told this story before on this show, but at one point I said to my staff, we're not taking clients on Saturdays anymore. And they were like, oh no, they really thought we were going to lose a ton of business because we no longer, because you have the clients who say, well, if you can't come see me on Saturday, then I can't hire you. And I decided not to anymore. And my staff panicked. And in the end, for the next, I think it was 7 years, there was only one client who didn't hire us. I said, we'll come early in the day. We'll come later in the day. If you can come home from work early or leave late. Mm-hmm. And they always, if they want you, they're going to do it. And whether they want you or not, it was protecting my time then on a Saturday. And it felt great because I was definitely getting like frenetic about working all the time.
Yeah, it's really important to know, when are you done? So I ask people, if you're an employee, would you have a day when, like the end of your day, would you have a time when you clock out? Of course you would. When you clock in, when you clock out. Right. You would have vacation if you're a full-time employee. You would have, even basic employees, part-time employees get days off that are national holidays, right? And yet as an entrepreneur, what I think about those days is like, oh, good, clients won't bother me. I'm going to do my work.
Exactly. I'll do my marketing and new programs, and that's my creative day where no one's going to bother me. Absolutely. And I think it's really hard too if anyone who's listening has young kids, it's definitely hard also to get to the point where you have some downtime when you have young kids. Because when I had young kids, it was very difficult to get downtime. When I wasn't working, I was with my kids.
Yeah. So when do you get you time?
Right.
And a lot of times we have this conception in our heads that like, oh, I only do self-care when I'm really stressed or when I'm super busy or I have a really big project. Then I'll take self-care time or then I'll take downtime at the end of this. And instead, I want to switch that. I think that one of the biggest things to burning out is that we don't take free time, downtime, fun time, playtime, whatever you want to call it, but time to yourself. And we think it has to be a lot of time, right? And in the end, what I want to switch is how people think about that time. And if you think about it, what are some fun activities that you like to do that are 15 minutes? They take 15 minutes to do. For me, reading, walking, my dog, swimming may take like 30 minutes, or a nap may take like 30 minutes. But if I look at that over the course of a week, I can break that up. And if I spend 15 to 30 minutes each day, I've spent about an hour to maybe 3 hours on myself a week. And to me, that's worth it.
That's definitely worth it. I mean, I took a nap today.
Good job.
I have a little bit of a cold and I thought, oh, okay, I have about an hour and my body's 15 minutes and it wakes back up when I'm going out tonight. And I thought I need to close my eyes for 15 minutes. And I set a timer just in case. And was out cold for 15 minutes and then popped back up and was ready for weekend wind down. Sometimes you need to do that.
Yes. I'm such a proponent of naps or just even taking a break, but taking a nap, you can increase your productivity by 20%.
Really?
Yeah. So if there's something that you're like, I just hate this, I don't want to do this. I used to push myself. I used to be like, you have to push through, you have to do it, you have to finish this. And instead, if I go and take a nap and then get up and then work on it, the same amount of time that it would have taken me to motivate myself to even want to do the project, I'm done in the same amount of time as it took me to take a nap and then do the project in like 30 minutes instead of take the whole hour to just drag my feet and hate my life while I'm doing it.
I can see that. Let's talk a little bit about setting boundaries with clients because, most of my following are interior designers, and it is really difficult for them when they're in the throes of a project. They have contractors calling them. They have clients calling them. They have plumbers and window treatment and painters, right? And everyone, it's urgent. And I've been able to talk through with some clients, like, okay, it was so urgent, you gave them an answer. When did they actually do the job then? And it was like, oh yeah, not till 2 days later. It's kind of like that hurry up and wait. But when you talk to us about getting sucked into somebody else's urgency and drama.
Yeah. So there's a time when you get to sit down and you get to look at, like, what are all the things that are sucking energy from you? Is it all these people and all this stuff? Then I would encourage you to say, how can you get support? Can someone else help offload that, or can someone else field those questions, or put them all in a place where you can then review them the next day, like in the morning, and then you call those people and you're like, yes, no, here's this, here's that, here's all this stuff. It's just having a buffer, even an assistant or someone who can be like, she will call you back. They will let you know. He will get back to you, whatever that is, and helps guide that, what it really is urgent. Because I think a lot of people are like, well, I just want an answer now. So I'm going to call now, and then we don't want to be put off. We don't want to have to wait, because that stinks, right? So
Yes, because if you feel like if I just take the call now, then I won't have to put it on my to-do list to call them back. And I get that sometimes. Like, I just want to answer right away.
This is true. There's a time when you get to acknowledge what are the things that are serving you, giving you energy, and what are the things that are taking your energy. So sitting down, and if you get to the end of your day and you're just like, I don't even know how I got here. Like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm grumpy. All those are signs of burnout. I'm not saying you're in burnout, but they are signs of burnout.
Mhm.
And so you get to decide, is my business worth it? Is my time worth it to take time for myself so I can re-energize? And maybe that looks like I need to get support someplace else. I don't want to tell people what that looks like in their business, because it's definitely a personalized one-to-one situation. But a lot of times we think we have to do it all, and we don't.
We so don't. And when I'm never felt like I had to do it all alone. I'm definitely a team builder, because when I build a team, I am more balanced and more gets done. It gets done in a more efficient way. And like you said, when I make a list of what saps my energy is not in my genius zone, I'm like, time to bring somebody on. And then obviously the worry is, am I going to make enough money to pay for that person? What do I do if I don't? But how can you is a great sentence to put into your vernacular, right? How can I bring in another client so that I can pay for this assistance, so that I have a more balanced life and I enjoy what I do more?
Exactly. And I need to schedule time for myself, because you are your business, right? You created your business. It's all on you. So then you also need to make sure you're recharging. If we continue to give from an empty cup, you're not really giving your best. I'm just going to be really blunt about that. And I gave from an empty cup for years. I've had my business for 6 years, my digital marketing business for 6 years, and I probably spent 3 or 4 of those years like in the beginning startup phase, and then even when I was successful, where I was giving from an empty cup. And I want to make sure that we talk about the signs of burnout, so that people can identify and touch on that. There's 3 proven signs of burnout, and one is having a lack of energy, just being super low, like I was talking about. Another one is having a lack of confidence in the work that you do. And so sometimes that looks like, I don't want to pick up the phone and talk to someone. I don't want to go to that networking event, or I just stand in the corner and be like, I hope nobody talks to me, because I don't want to talk to them. I've been there too. I totally understand being in that moment. And why I'm telling you these is so that you recognize if that's showing up for you and be like, I need to change something. And then the third one is having a lack of meaning in your work. So if you feel really cynical about your clients, or you're like, oh, I don't enjoy working with any of them, but I need the money, those type of thoughts, or it's never going to work, or not having any creativity like I did, that was a really scary place to be. I've never been without solutions.
I want to know if anyone who's watching can relate to any of those. Name them again.
So having a lack of energy, having a lack of confidence, and having a lack of meaning in your work.
Do they have to come all together, or they can be individual? And does it always mean that you're on the verge of burnout?
Good question. So if you're showing signs of all three, most likely you're experiencing some level of burnout. Now, there's a curve, right? And so we all get to decide where we're at on that curve of burnout. But it has been recognized by the World Health Organization as a syndrome of work when you can't release workplace stress. And 7 in 10 millennials experience some level of burnout. So we're very familiar with it. A lot of times, Melissa said yes, yes, and
yes. I'm saying thank you, Melissa, for being honest about that. I definitely think there are times that I've been there as well, and I have recognized it and made some shifts. But I think the lack of confidence is something a lot of people deal with and don't always relate it to burnout.
Yeah. Some of the symptoms of burnout include being angry, being frustrated, not wanting to, distancing yourself from people. And those were signs I also didn't realize were part of burnout. So the 3 ones I shared, those are the scientific ones. But normally people who are experiencing those 3 are also experiencing some levels of anger and frustration and isolationism. And I had no idea that was all connected. I was just like, why am I so frustrated all the time?
Yeah.
Why does nothing ever seem to work as easy as it used to?
And I think it's also, why does everything seem so easy for everyone else? But
yeah,
I'm struggling. Your perception becomes off in a way.
Mm-hmm. Don't they know how much I'm doing? Can't they see how much work I'm doing? My job is so much harder than everybody else's.
Interesting.
That's what I thought, right? That's what I was saying in my head. So then taking that next step, the first step is acknowledging that. And Paula said waking up at 3:30 a.m. every morning. Oh man, that's super early.
I wake up at 3:30 sometimes, but not on purpose. I want to go back to sleep, although I am a 5:30 a.m. person. But I'm just run with high energy usually. So Paula, you're waking up at 3:30 because you feel like you have so much to do that you need to wake up that early? I'm curious if that's what's happening. So give us a little bit more information on that one if you can.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because if it's a choice, okay, cool. If you want to do that, awesome. It's your business. You can run it how you want. You do you.
Right.
But if it's like a pressure and overwhelm and stressful and you feel like your clients expect that, then that's something different.
Yeah, I used to have clients, and I know people who are listening have this as well, who just message you so early in the morning. I mean, I had it when I was an art consultant. Then they wake up, they have a thought, they text you. And I'm even guilty of that once in a while. But I always say, don't answer it. I just had to get it off my brain. And I would not answer till 9:30.
Yes.
Paula said,
yeah,
I don't do that on purpose. I wake up worrying. So how do you respond to someone who says, you know what, I may be on the verge of a burnout, but what else am I supposed to do? I have to make money and I have to do everything. Who else is going to do it? I'm the only one and I can't afford to hire someone, right? That whole angst that everybody feels.
I totally understand. I've been there, and I had to go through my own process journey. And that's why I created my course to help people figure out their own work-life balance. So I believe that it's not a one size fits all.
Right.
I believe that you get to figure out what works for you, what doesn't. You talked about your genius zone earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the things that really just energize you? And what are the things that you hate to do? How can you get someone else to do them, or get support, or get a high school intern, or teach somebody? There's a time when I understand the frustration of being like, how can I teach anyone to do it as good as I do, right?
Yes.
They just won't do it to the same level. What do you tell your clients when they say that?
They won't do it to the same level? Yeah, but that's true actually sometimes, but that's okay. It's still taking, I have a staff now of 7 or 8 people, and my life is getting so much more balanced. But in the beginning, what I would end up doing, and this is what I tell my clients now, let's pick and choose what you're going to do right now, as opposed to trying to do it all, right? If you feel like, oh my God, I need a website, and everything I listen to says my website has to be you first. Okay, your website doesn't have to be first. I have friends who have never had a website and they have a rocking business, right? So I make sure I analyze and help them figure out all their urgent items and then take some of them off the plate for future. So let's see what Paul is saying. Oh, see, now with Be Live, it doesn't all show up.
I've got it. I was on vacation in Chicago for a weekend a few weeks ago and slept until 7. Awesome.
Nice.
Paula, good job. My husband and son thought I seriously was dead. He put his hand in front of my mouth like a baby to make sure I was okay.
Oh no, Paula. Yes. So that's definitely a sign of burnout.
So this is good, right? Because you're acknowledging this is showing up for me. And a lot of times when we think about burnout, it's like the monster under the bed and we don't want to acknowledge it and we just want to push it away, push it away, push it away. But like I said, if your business is built on you, what happens if you can't do your business?
Right.
So I almost walked away from my business and I was worried I had a little bit of depression. I worked with an online counselor. I did not have the depression. I had some sort of like pre-signs is what I was calling them. Mm-hmm. But my recovery included reading books and taking walks. I had to walk away from a client. And it also included taking downtime, having more exercise, taking some time to figure out what my next step was and being okay with, I used to be able to do this in 30 minutes and now it's taking me an hour. I'm not trying not to judge myself that it's taking me more time to do something. So if you're seeing some of these signs show up, like Paula, you may not have the other signs of lack of confidence and low meaning in your work, or you may, and there are things you can do about it, right?
Yes.
So we want to talk about some really quick things that you can apply in your business, in your life, even if you're an employee and have a 9-to-5 job that you can also apply, or you should be able to in your work environment. And if you aren't, then maybe you should have a different work environment. So one of the things is 2 out of every 3 people eat lunch at their desk or they don't eat lunch at all. So that means 1 out of every 3 persons actually stepping away from their desk and eating lunch. It is really important for your brain, mentally, physically, for you to stand up, take a break, walk away from your computer, take some downtime from a screen. If you can walk away from your phone, right? It seems really simple, but it can be a huge shift, a huge way for you to just take that breather instead of like I used to do. I would work on a project and then I'd look up and be like, oh my gosh, it's 3 p.m. But I have to keep working on this project. So I guess I'll just grab this bar, this nutrition bar thing that I got at the store and eat that and hope it'll get me through to dinner.
Yes. So many people. I'm looking because it's telling me there's more messages below, but I don't see them. Anyway, just so everyone knows, Be Live changed. So if you guys see, like I have a new setup here, it's because they changed stuff. So I'm trying to get used to their new setup here in the broadcast studio, as they call it. So yes, I have been guilty of the get up, grab something from my refrigerator, come back to my desk and keep working. I have been guilty of skipping. And now I actually do get up from my desk, go and make something and sit at the kitchen table. And I think that when you are an entrepreneur and you're working from home, it feels funny sometimes if you're home alone to be sitting at your desk, sitting at your kitchen table and eating by yourself without staring at your phone or without listening to a podcast or without watching a video that you've been wanting to. But I have made that shift and it really makes a difference.
It absolutely does. So we start on businesses because we don't like to have a boss, right? And we're like, I don't want to do that. But then a boss helps tell you when to leave, when to come in the morning and to go to lunch. And they make sure that you do those things, right? If they're a good boss. And so sometimes we need to implement these these concepts in our own businesses, and just say, like, do you need to put a reminder in your calendar? Just be like, hey, this is lunch. I don't care when you take it, just that you are physically taking a lunch at some point during your day.
Being a good boss to yourself. Because not only are you the CEO of your business, you're also an employee in your business. And I talk about that a lot with my clients, and it goes with paying yourself too, right? You're paying yourself as an employee, but you also need to compensate yourself as the risk taker and as the CEO and the boss and the owner, right? So how do you do that? So if you apply that same mentality to the time off that you're taking, it's going to make your boundaries a lot clearer. I think that was great advice.
Absolutely. Thanks. Taking even a break of 5 minutes can help increase your productivity. Taking a 15-minute break, like walking outside, whether you're working in an office or you're working downtown or you're working at your house, those can really help shift you. Sunlight is really important. It can help shift your mood, change your brain, just change your attitude overall. So those things are really important and very easy to implement into your day.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing that I have is what I want to ask people is, if you're like, oh my gosh, how do I take time? How do I get all this, like put another thing into my day? I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to put another thing on my to-do list. And I just want you to do one little thing to put yourself on your to-do list. And one thing I want you to do is, what would you spend $5 to $10 on to bring you joy?
What are you getting at? What would I spend $5 to $10? Well, I mean, I don't know. I definitely, to me, lunch, a book.
But what would it be? Yeah, like what's it like for me? Fresh cut flowers. I know they're dying. I know they're going to die in a week. All this stuff. I don't care. But I love to have fresh cut flowers. And they just make me smile and so happy when I get them.
You know, I read that one last week, actually. It was so funny because that came to my attention. My social media person sends me like questions once in a while, and I fill them in, and then it eventually shows up in my social media. And one of them was, what you may not know, something like, what you may not know is I sometimes, and some of the choices were buy myself fresh flowers. And I'm thinking, nope, I don't do that. It's not my thing. But I'm thinking, what do I do like that? I'm not sure I have anything.
So for some people, the first thought is like coffee. Susan said lunch with a friend. Those things are awesome. Sometimes it's like sushi or a special sandwich, or, you can't buy tons, but most entrepreneurs can afford to spend at least $5 on themselves.
Right.
And so it's a way for you to start recognizing the things that do give you energy and the things that don't give you energy. Because if you're not bringing more things in for yourself and replenishing that cup, but you're just continuing to give out, then you've built this habit of give, 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 give.
Yes.
And you're not building a habit of receiving. It might mean that like it's hard for you to get people to pay you on time or at all. Paula said flowers, splurge on coffee. Yeah.
I will say I will splurge on coffee, and I didn't associate that with the question you asked, but yes, I will go out and get myself a nice cup of coffee. I'll go to Panera Bread and get a nice breakfast once in a while, rather than me having my oatmeal at home. So I guess I do have those things. I just never really thought of them. I got stuck on the flowers.
No worries. But it's like, what will bring a smile to your face?
Yes.
And you just are like so excited to have it. And so if that's a coffee, that totally counts. It's whatever it is for you. I don't care. There's no judgment. But a lot of times we don't have a habit built of what makes me feel awesome, what makes me feel like a superstar.
Right. And I love the fact that buy the coffee for the person behind you in line. I love that.
That's always a great gift.
That is, and that's a great way to start your day too, especially if it's in the morning, to buy the person, just tell the cashier that coffee's on me. Love that. Good job, Paula. Giving me ideas.
So there's when I work with someone on burnout or someone who's experiencing burnout, we go through 9 weeks, and we do some training, and then we do coaching, and so it gives them an opportunity to learn a concept and apply it in their life, and then the things that don't work, and they're like, "This was really hard. I hated it. This is awful. I'm not doing it," and then they get the coaching at the end of the week to work through what's showing up for them. So we work mental health, physical health, and emotional health, like learning to say no and making sure you're taking breaks, making sure you have downtime, making sure that you know what's most important to you. Because a lot of times we surround ourselves with things that don't always give us the most joy or aren't the best for us. And we're like, well, I'm related to that person, so it's not like I can cut them out of my life. And that's not what I'm saying. But there are ways that you can acknowledge, like, I don't want to spend as much time around this person. They're in an outer circle. They're not in my inner circle. I want to have the things that feed me in the inner circle. And that's where the self-care and listening to yourself and just buying $5 worth of something that gives you joy can help you shift into, what do I need? Where am I at? How am I doing? What's going to help me re-energize?
It's definitely putting yourself on your own priority list, right?
Yeah.
You know, when people make their lists of, well, I have to serve these clients and I have to, again, do my website, do my marketing, and post on Facebook and post on Instagram, and I have to do this, that, and the other thing. Where are you on that list?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I do morning pages. I write every morning, and I do a 10-minute meditation. I'm not a great meditator. I don't even like the word, but I do 10 minutes of just relaxing without the phone. And if I need it guided, I'll go onto YouTube and I'll get a 10-minute guided meditation. Just to not wake up and pick up my computer and pick up my phone and just start going, to have that downtime. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned exercise, which I was a personal trainer way too many years ago, 25 years ago. And I've gotten away from daily exercise, but now on Saturdays, people who get my emails will know I play pickleball now. It's old people's tennis. That's what I call it. It has made such a difference in my mindset that I look forward to that Saturday where my phone is in my pocketbook. I'm not looking at it. I'm playing. I'm having fun. I'm socializing. And it's so easy to get away from that type of self-care that you speak about. But once you make a decision to bring it back in your life, you were right on when you said you're clearer in your thinking, you're more productive, you're happier. That balance makes such a difference. And it starts actually, the universe works in amazing ways. Like as soon as you start putting yourself on your priority list, business sometimes starts coming in.
Yes.
I can't explain to people, but I'm telling you, it's true. And you probably have the same thing, Nikole, right? When someone hires you and yet you haven't even started working and getting into the depths of it, suddenly whatever they're struggling with starts to release. And for me, they hire me and suddenly they got a new consult and I didn't even do anything yet, right? It's like, because they're taking care of their needs and themselves. Do you find that?
Absolutely. And there's a little caveat. The first time you make that commitment to put it to yourself, something will challenge you right away. Absolutely that person who you always give in to, who you always do something for, will come right up or call you or whatever, right? And so that's the universe's way to ask you, how committed are you to doing this?
Yes.
And so putting down financial commitment or time commitment, things like that, really help you show this is important to me. I am doing this. And then you're going to follow through with that. And it's amazing what spending $5 can help you start to grow that joy in your life, start to grow paying attention to what you need, start to grow your self-care practice. And self-care can look however you want it to. It can be exercise, it can be pickleball. For me, I love to do ballroom dancing, and that's a workout as well.
Yes.
So but it's not a workout. Like, I don't like to go to the gym.
Right. It's just fun, right? You
It's
have to have
fun.
fun in your life. Everyone, you've got to have fun in your life. And if all you're doing is all work, no play,
Hmm.
thinking that's what's going to make you money, we're here to tell you that that's actually not true.
Nope. Because I did that. That's what I was doing to try and get to that rainbow, the end of the rainbow, where I was going to make all the money so I could do all the traveling.
Right.
And I never made it. I would just worked harder and harder, missed more commitments,
Yes.
more family things, and felt more guilty the harder I worked and the more money I made.
I think guilt is a huge thing. And I want to talk a little bit about, I'm big on saying no. Like people are like, do you want to do this? I'm like, no. I have no problem saying no. And I'm not sure I ever did, actually. It wasn't one of my things. But I'm good at teaching people how to say no. Open up your calendar. Tell me everything that you have committed over the next 2 weeks. Okay, why do you need to go to that? And I challenge the thought process, right?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
it working towards one of the priorities in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Your relaxation and enjoyment and nurturing being one of them. If it's not, or your business, if it's not, take it off.
Why are you doing it?
Right. I have to cough. I'm going to mute.
No worries. It's really hard to want to tell a family member no, or your networking group no, or walking away from whatever it is that you've committed to. But when you start doing it, it feels pretty amazing.
It feels pretty amazing. And there will be people who feel like you've changed. And you know what? That's okay. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to change to protect your own personal time, your own priorities, for your own sanity, really.
Absolutely. One of the things when I was recovering from burnout is I just took all my commitments after work and I said no to all of them for a week. And then I was like, which ones do I look forward to? And which ones was I like, I don't want to go to them ever again in my life. And I hate getting ready for it.
Yes.
And be like, yeah, I should probably get rid of the ones that I'm dreading. And it seems silly. So this seems like overly simplistic to you. And you're like, that seems really simple, but I have to do all the things. What I want you to do is I want you to check the thinking that you're saying, I have to do all these things, because I don't believe that you do. I believe that there are things you can release, you can get rid of, or that someone else can do, even if you're a parent with kids, that it can look different than it does right now. I don't know what it looks like for you, but that when you start telling the universe by taking actions to say you're important, then it will start supporting that belief that you believe you're important.
Is there a particular question you feel like is helpful when people are looking at all the things that everyone's demanding of them? Is there a particular question or a series of questions they can ask themselves in order to challenge the belief that nobody else can do it, only I can do it? How do you suggest they approach that?
Yeah, so I love this concept. And I struggled to say no for a while, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it starts with giving yourself permission to say no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That it's okay to say no, and that you do not have to give an explanation. No is a complete sentence.
It's so true. And as women, if mostly women are watching, I don't know, I can't see everyone who's watching unless you're commenting. We are just raised often to be accommodating and not give any thought to our own needs. It's all about caring for other people. And I think it comes natural when you have children that you want to care for them and you are their primary caregiver. And there definitely are times in your life that you have to do things that you would probably choose not to want to do, but you have to. They're your children. But it's not really always like that. But you get into this pattern of serving, and being there for everyone and not being there for yourself.
So the big thing that I want people to think about when they're like, oh, I really feel like I have to go to this, I have to go to that birthday party, I have to go to this event, I have to do this or whatever. I want you to think about, does it work for me? Because if it doesn't work for you, it won't work for them. Here's an example.
That's interesting.
If
Go ahead.
there's a birthday party that you feel like you have to go to, grandma's 82nd birthday party.
You have
And
to go to
everybody in the
grandma's
family,
82nd birthday party. No?
right? Everybody in the family will be there, all this stuff. But you're dreading it and you just like, I really don't want to go. You don't have to have a reason why I don't want to go, but you get to acknowledge if it isn't good for me and I don't want to go, then it won't be good for them, because how are you going to show up if you don't want to go? You're going to be there and you're going to be like, I just want to leave. I
Yeah.
want to look at my phone. I'm just looking at my phone the whole time and just being like, this is so boring, and texting someone else that this is boring and all these things. And I'm making a joke of it, right? Because I'm over exaggerating. But at the same point, your energy is going to be negative showing up for that event if you don't want to be there. It's the same thing as going to a networking event when you're like, oh my gosh, I hope nobody ever makes eye contact with me because I have no energy to talk to anybody tonight at all. And
Right.
you're standing in the corner. So what was the point of going to that networking event? Couldn't you have taken that time instead and spent it better on doing something for yourself, taking a nap in your car or whatever it is that you need, instead of standing in the corner at the networking event wishing no one talks to you?
Well, this brings it's a very good point. At the same time, as a business coach, I want to tell people I do encourage networking, but not so much. I mean, some people do so much networking. They're involved in so many different, well, I have to do this, and this. And I'll be like, have you gotten business from any of them in the last 2 years?
Exactly.
No? Okay, so you're quitting that one, but I've made good friends. Okay, so stay connected with the ones you want to stay connected with on your terms. So you don't have to show up at 7 a.m. Once a week to be part of a networking group that is not bringing you business if on top of it you don't enjoy it.
Yep.
Right? So go ahead.
I've had a client who's a part of 5 different networking groups. BNI. So anybody who's been BNI, you have to commit to those.
Yes.
And she'd gotten 2 clients in the last 5 years. Not worth her time.
Yeah, that's it, especially with what they charge also. Plus you have to have those extra meetings, right? And for some of my clients, BNI has been incredible. Okay, then just do the BNI.
Yeah.
And don't also do Chamber of Commerce and this women's entrepreneurial group and this, like it's endless. But I want to go back for a second, because I think, again, we have expectations of people. And when you were speaking, I was thinking about my daughter. She no longer comes to Thanksgiving.
I love this story. This is a great story.
And I'm like, when she got old enough, listen, we again teach our children family obligations. You have to come. It's rude if you don't. Everyone's expecting you to be there. I'm expecting you to be there. I'm going to be sad if you're not there, right? All these things. And when she started not coming, and she said, I work hard all week, and that's one day that everyone's occupied and no one needs anything from me, and that's a day for me. I do my Christmas shopping that day. There's no one at the mall when it opens up at 5 o'clock, right, for Black Friday, which is actually the next day usually. And that's what I want to do. And I thought, all right, I may want to do that with you, right? Because she set her boundaries. And I think at the time she did it, she was 22 or 23. I went, that's amazing. Like, I would have never done that to my parents. I would have never said, I'm not coming to Thanksgiving. They would have had a conniption, and I have great parents, but I just said to her, I think at first I was like, what do you mean? It's like, this is family time. But then as I registered it, I thought, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah.
I'm pretty impressed that she was able to set that boundary for herself and say, you know what, Mom, it's no reflection on you, but this is a day that I just take for myself. And I was like, wow.
You just point out one of the big things too, is that it's no reflection on you. Because I choose not to go to something doesn't mean that I don't love my grandma or that I don't care about my business and my networking, and that's not important. But I also have to make sure that I'm a part of my to-do list and that I'm supporting myself because my business relies on me. So it doesn't have to mean that you don't care about that thing just because you said no. That can be what that person feels like.
Right.
For unfortunately, like they can choose that. You can't change that if they feel that way. But it doesn't have to mean just because you said no that you don't care.
Yes, and it's one of those where I, as the mother, got a lot of phone calls like, "Why isn't she coming to? Is there something that happened?" No, it's just that it's a day she uses for her, and
Mhm.
that's okay. And believe me, if one of my kids makes an extraordinary effort to get somewhere for a family something, I'm always thrilled. But I'm also understanding if that's not able to happen because they are taking care of themselves, that is great. And everyone who's listening, you need to do that for yourself as well. You don't have to be everything to everybody. But
Mhm.
you're the only one that can be everything to yourself, right?
Yeah. Burnout let me learn to become more authentic with who I am, how I communicate, and what I say no to. And I know one of the ways that I identify when, like, kind of like a little pulse on where I'm at. If I'm really grumpy, then I know I'm pushing myself too much, and I need to take a step back. And my expectations have been way outside of what I can accomplish.
Yes.
So that's one like emotional thing, a trigger for me to say, oh, I need to step back. So if you feel that overwhelm, if you feel really grumpy or angry or frustrated, and you're like, this isn't really me, then maybe it's a time for you to take some downtime.
Absolutely. I love her. Paula's got to run. She's still at the office. So it's Friday night, Paula. Go have fun. She's going to buy flowers for her dinner engagement tonight, and she's going to buy some for herself as well.
Yeah.
So good for you. Yeah, flowers aren't my thing, but definitely a cup of coffee, glass of wine. I actually enjoy TV. I
Thank
enjoy
you for
TV.
bringing that up. Yes. Okay. I've had people in my classes before who are like, what if the thing that gives me energy is watching TV? And they feel like guilty. They feel bad. Like I shouldn't admit that because I'm being lazy or I'm being whatever. They think that they should be doing something else.
Right.
And my feedback to them is I don't care what you do that gives you energy, as long as you feel great after it. Then if you spend $5 or $7 on a Netflix subscription every month, Nancy, and that brings you joy, then like do it. I don't care what it is.
Right.
Just find something that when you're done with it, you're like, I feel amazing instead of I feel so low.
Yeah, I have a girlfriend who's traveling right now, and I'll tell two stories actually. And she said, I'm so enjoying myself, but I can't wait to get home just to relax and veg and not have the constant interaction that it takes when you're visiting somebody. And I just got back from 2 back-to-back trips, and I was supposed to go back out again to help take care of my dad, who lost my mom 6 months ago, not even 6 months ago. And I just called him and I said, you know what? I have been on 2 back-to-back trips. Are you okay? Because I think I need to stay put for an extra 2 weeks and then I'll come to you on this date instead. And he was like, I'm fine. Like, do that for yourself. And it's not a problem. And I had that moment's worth of, oh my God, I'm not holding up my end of, 3 sisters, I'm one of them. But when I just made that phone call, rather than sitting with that guilt of I should just go. It should just go. Make the phone call sometimes, everyone, and check in with the person, because more often than not, the person you are feeling obligated to might actually understand.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, you still need to think of yourself, but sometimes they will understand.
I've found that more often than not, they understand.
Yes, I agree with you. So, all right, we covered a lot of ground here today, Nikole, and it's almost at an hour, which I can't even believe. I do a lot of mindset work with my clients, and that's why I'm always so attracted to other coaches who do a certain segment of mindset. But really, in the end, it all comes together, right? It's all about the same thing: setting boundaries, taking care of yourself. Making it okay. And that's what's going to give you the higher productivity, the confidence to, in my case, they say charge what you're worth, because you're worth it, right? Giving everyone that permission.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Tell everyone where they can find you.
So you can go to my website, myintuitioncoach.com. And if you've been listening and you're like, I don't know if burnout's showing up for me, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, you can go and there's a quiz on my website. It's 2 minutes. It's very basic. And it just has a couple questions about what it would look like if burnout was showing up for you. And for each person that takes my quiz, I give you personalized feedback and some tips that you can apply to see, what you could do if one of those elements was showing up for you.
Well, what you gave us today was very valuable, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy. It was really great to chat with you guys. Thanks for leaving comments too.
Yes.
And I had a great time.
And if you're watching on replay, you can always just say hashtag replay and ask Nikole any question you want, and make sure you go see her website, myintuitioncoach.com, and take her quiz and make sure that you guys are taking care of yourselves and not heading for burnout or almost there. So thank you, Linda. Thank you, everyone else, for watching. And Weekend Wind Down's not weekly anymore, but I have some scheduled. So keep an eye on your emails, keep an eye on my posts, and I'll talk to all you guys soon. Have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.